I've got apologies from Councillor Newson and Councillor Gill and Councillor Chilton. And
reasons accepted.
sorry?
Reasons accepted.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing these because I've got a bad ear. I can hear you, and don't ask me the cricket score because it doesn't feed anything in, but it just protects my bad ear, so I'm not listening to the cricket. And we'll move on to declarations of members' interests. Has anybody got anything they need to let us know?
Yeah.
I'll move.
To approve and reject any applications put to the meeting by the chairman in respect of members seeking a dispensation under the Localism Act. I'm not familiar with that one, Yvonne, but I'm probably going to sweep over
But
it.
if you didn't have one, you don't have two.
And to remind us that the meeting is being recorded. And I'm going to ask if we can confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of May, which are probably in front of you.
There's one typo for sure. 4827 A crash.
The prices.
4827 A correspondence. Line 2. The insurer was never Aviva, but it was Aviva.
Oh, sorry.
It's a bus company, isn't it?
Yep.
It is, yeah. They're moving on.
Thank you.
That was all.
Okay. We're going to ask you.
Yep.
Yes.
Can I sign it?
Just initial
Okay.
that on the form. And then initial that and initial the declaration. Thank you. And then you could sign in.
Let's sign here.
Date.
10th.
Thank you very much.
There were a couple of matters arising directly from the minutes rather than our ongoing ones that I thought might be useful just to query with the clerk to tell us where we are. Did the chairman manage to sign his declaration?
No, I haven't seen him.
So do we need to resolve that it can delay again? Because obviously he's not here, so
No.
he's not chairing the meeting.
No.
But we said it would be before the next... Sorry, I beg your pardon, if it says before his next meeting, so actually you're all right.
Yes.
Yeah, well done. Very smart. And the second one was that obviously we're not going to hear a presentation from the, or anything else from the village hall management management committee chairman. So he was invited, but he's not made it.
Have we invited him?
I did say we would like him to come, but he didn't see any point because, as far as he's concerned, which comes up a bit further down,
No, that's fine.
he doesn't think that we need to send a representative anyway.
What we're entitled to. But
He doesn't,
we're not
as
exercising.
custodian trustees, he doesn't.
I think it would be ideal if we did have one
Well,
personally.
it's not in the deed. You know, the trustee.
Mm.
We're entitled to. Of course, it's up to us that we're not doing it.
It begs the question, if anyone asks, do we know exactly what's going on with the village hall? We will have to say we haven't got a clue.
Indeed.
And that's
We
a
used to
little
get
bit of an
report.
uncomfortable.
We used to get a report every meeting
Yeah.
back in the old days.
It does make me uncomfortable that
Yeah.
we're not represented there, so I personally think we shouldn't abandon the concept.
Well, we've not abandoned the concept, it's just that
We raised the problem ourselves, which
We've
we
raised
then
the
decided
problem
would make it
because-
impossible for her.
because a trustee is potentially
True.
liable. And it's all right to say, but it's insured, or it'll never happen, or it won't rain this month,
Yes,
but it can.
As an interim measure, I presume they have meetings, and I would presume the meetings would be minuted. So at the very least, we should be CC'd into the minutes of the village hall.
Yeah.
And I think if we go on record and say we've requested that, if they decide not to do it and there's a problem, we've got an audit trail of saying, hey, we did our very best, but they refused to enter into any dialogue.
I believe they have difficulty arranging meetings.
Oh dear.
well, at the risk of sounding, I don't know, a bit pointed, that's kind of their problem, not ours.
But I'm just saying.
No, that's a fair comment.
That's not new, by the way. That's been going on well before Mike Apps' chairmanship. They've had that for a while.
Yeah.
And to some degree, there is this issue, by the way, that not all members of the committee arguably are trustees. You know, and there's a gap there. Maybe not trustees because they're not put to the charity commission, but maybe they are. They simply weren't put forward. I think maybe some people are a little anxious because of the problems that there've been before, with trustees, I mean. It is a bit unhelpful. I did circulate that thing which you'll have seen, Paul, that makes it clear that while we have a place there that we can take up, they don't represent the council. The council has no management. The council has no management oversight. It's only our trustee who can act as a, you know, with his duties to the hall, not to the council.
Well, I suppose the good news is that at least they've got some people there. If they went completely defunct, then I guess we have to take it over.
No.
We just leave it. There's no responsibility at all.
Well,
So
we've got an obligation to look after the village, if we can.
Yeah.
Charity commission's going for the village hall.
But I mean, if for instance there was nobody acting on the committee at all, or no trustees, and then we would probably raise our hands and say, look, can we help? And then, rather than just let it go into default.
It's difficult. We'd probably have to get the charity commission to give us some cover, but I'm not very familiar with that.
That could happen. Charity commissions generally don't want to see a charity go bust.
No, that's right.
And if there are no trustees, they should have a constitution which stipulates how it should be governed. It's called a governing document.
That's what
Yeah.
Mr. Wayne.
That's what she's just showing you.
If that's what's currently in place, governing documents can be changed. They're changed all the time as long as you get the right number.
Yes.
But if they're not fulfilling their governing document responsibilities, then technically the charity commission could close them down, if you like. But I just think that we need to be seen to be doing whatever we can. And just by writing to them and asking for a copy of their minutes, if they come back and say we never have any meetings, etc., there's a whole question of financial propriety then that comes in because they're handling money.
I think when it comes to money, Paul Hutchinson is now the treasurer,
Right.
and he's going to great lengths to get it all sorted out.
Okay.
He has opened a new bank account, and in fact he came to me because the bank requested names, addresses, dates of birth of trustees, and of course Wittersham Parish Council is down as the custodian. So he wanted dates of birth and names, to which I went back and said, it's the council that's the trustee, so all you need is Wittersham Parish Council and my address, because you're not, you're councillors, you're not trustees, it's just us. So I gave him that, he went back with that, and they were quite happy. So I think he is definitely on the board.
Well, they've got him he'll be classified as a responsible officer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, basically, actually, maybe what we do is we do nothing until either the building falls down or they all die or disappear or they get into a major problem, apart from saying we're here to help and we feel that as the custodian trustee, we just not say we should have, just say we request a copy of your minutes on a regular basis.
I think it put nicely, there's nothing wrong with that.
Put the ball in their court then.
So we agreed then that I just ask for
See what happens.
a copy of their minutes.
Might be worthwhile CCing the treasurer.
So who should I go to? The chairman?
The
Secretary?
chairman, CC, and I would write to the chair and CC the secretary and the treasurer.
Yes.
And you've covered all the angles.
You know, the secretary is, because they used to not have a secretary.
Yep.
There is a slight anxiety that's been just going around in my mind. Were Paul's, floating, were the charity to go bust in some way, or maybe disappear is not much dissimilar, then the charity commission would insist that the place was sold and the money given to another charity in similar work. I think that's their system, isn't it?
Well, we could very quickly start a charity governed by the parish council.
Indeed.
In fact, at the risk of script writing, that's an interesting thought. But I think in the meantime, we just deal politely, as you set up.
Is that right? Brilliant, thank you. So,
Good.
we'll move. Is that all new matters arising now?
Well, the extra ones, we've now got the ones that are on the agenda. So we're now down to this one.
That's all the extra ones, so let's go back to the... Here we are.
Yes.
Okay, anything further to report on the Swan at this point?
I think that I looked at where the application by the landlord to change of use was on the portal, and I found, this was a week or two ago, I found a submission by Miriam Lewis on there. It is admirable.
Yes.
I mean, it is an absolutely spiffing response going through Ashford's policies and that. And I thought it's something I did mean to make clear, that I would make clear tonight, that I thought it was excellent, and she deserves thanks for having done such a good one, because she goes through it all chapter and verse.
When is it dated?
It was dated 28th of May, but I saw it on the 3rd of June. Of
This
course,
year?
it doesn't get straight, yes,
This
it
year?
doesn't get, yes.
Yes, it's in
For
response
the,
to
Yeah.
change of
the
use.
change of use. And of course it takes a day or two to get onto the portal. And I did email her and just said, was there a typo in it in one particular place where arguably there was a not missed out? And she said, no, that was entirely intentional.
No.
It was what she meant, but she feels it's still fine because you have to read the whole of Part B of the policy as a whole, and she feels it still doesn't. This was a point that they have to leave it, available for sale or rent for a reasonable period. And she said, in my opinion, it was a reasonable period. And I said, did you mean not a reasonable? And she said, no, I think it was a reasonable period, but nevertheless, they haven't complied with the other bits. So there we are. But I had a very helpful exchange of emails with her, and I just thought that what she'd done was
I
excellent.
haven't seen that document. Have I got access to it?
Well, if you go online, you'll find
Line.
No,
Oh,
okay.
line.
it. Yes, we don't have it otherwise.
No.
You have to go online to find it.
That's excellent.
Okay. Thank you for that. Is there anything else that we need to look at in this topic? No? Sports club fees?
I went to the AGM as
That was good of you.
last time. It was just to ask was someone going, and yes, I was going, and I did. The key points that I heard, the conversion to a charitable incorporated organisation, which is what we're talking about with Village Hall, applies to the sports club. They agreed it at the AGM last year in 2024, which was that was a good step forward, because the landlord's land agent agreed that on the spot. They're happy to do that, which I thought was a big jump. So the trustees agreed to pursue the association model. Paul will know more about these things. I had to look it up. You can have an association model or a foundation model of a CIO. They went for the association model, logically, because you can have a wider membership, like people are members.
Yeah.
But in a way, they're members of the they're members of the sports club. I mean, I'm a member, you're members. You're a member, Alan. So they went for the association model. They did all the paperwork, worked it all out, wrote the stuff up, went through to the landlord through his agent, and they came back and said no, they actually wanted the foundation model, which was a surprise, because the foundation model has only the trustees as members of the CIO. Now, I don't know and don't understand, I haven't gone into it, the logical reason why that would be.
Because, I'll tell you in a nutshell,
Please.
it's because only the members will be able to change the constitution.
Yeah.
So if you limit the members to the trustees, the rest of us can't
Right.
change the constitution.
But on the other hand, the trustees could, without us stopping them.
As a charity,
Yeah.
That's basically
That's the difference.
The bottom line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, they've done it again, they've revised it, and they've sent it off, and they're waiting for the landlord's comments. And the landlord is willing to allow time for the issues to be resolved, because they do still have issues. Work is needed on the pavilion, including the roof. They're getting quotes and hope to do it this summer, but I guess they would probably wait until they know everything's in place. Lack of a notice board was raised, and it's to be fixed in the sense of putting it back again. It's gone for some while. Trading in the trading company was down in 2024. I've got the accounts if you want me to tell you anything from them, but it did pick up in the early months of 2025. I would say part of that, I mean not entirely across the year maybe, but they have started to make more effort to do things.
Names.
So they're having, you know, I've been to 2 or 3 quizzes and whatever, all things like that.
Do you know how much a quiz like that raises?
No, I don't. But in general, I can tell you the big number, which is potentially interesting. The general sports club trading, which is where the bar is, as opposed to any of the club. In 2023, it had total income of 65,000, total costs of 56, so it had 9,300 surplus. Following year, 65 had gone down to 60, this is now last 24. 65 dropped to 60, the costs only went from 56 down to 53. Like all these things, you know, there is a degree of leverage there. So their surplus went from 9.93 down to 6.5. But that is the amount then that, give or take, they hand over to the club. And of course the difference is, I mean, even the 6,500 is money that the club just doesn't easily get anywhere else.
No, indeed.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only other source of income as such. Can I just ask, did you get any indication of, with the repairs to the roof, where are they getting the money from to do that?
Well, I think they've still got money in the bank probably, because they got the two lots of government money during COVID.
Oh, okay.
So I think they probably have some from that.
Because that will be in their account surely at the AGM.
Yeah, so let me see, I've probably got that as well.
I mean, the bottom line is that without the clubhouse, let's not call it a bar, because they do all sorts of activities there, and the dance team, I gather, is successful.
Doing better, yeah.
Doing better. The clubhouse is basically the thing that keeps it open for the village. It's in a nutshell.
I'm just looking through now, I've got the sports club now, looking through the balance sheet quickly. Yeah, you see at the end of 23, 31st of December 23, they've got 2,600 in cash. End of 2024, 5,300 in cash in the bank.
See, the minute they get properly constituted, they can apply for a whole range of grants, and fabrication grants are not at all difficult to get. And they could sort the roof out, and then Bob could build a second floor, which I don't know. Have you seen the plans? They were drawn up several years ago, because I always had this dream of being able to sit on the balcony watching your cricket team perform as the sun went down. You know,
spectator space.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing then was the committee that was voted on, all unopposed. The 5 persons that were put forward were unopposed because they've got 5 places, that's for the election. So that was the 2 females, they always have to have 2 females. That's Gail and Miranda. And then the others were Stuart, Mervyn and Sam Gray. And then the clubs put forward their nominees, they can have 2 each, but they didn't actually use them, except one. Cricket put forward Phil Maynard, football put forward Miriam Ann, and general sports put forward Adrian. So that's the committee going forward, which is bigger than they plan to have in the CIO. The CIO is only going to have, that's one of the points of contention, the aim is to have only 1 from each club instead of 2. And then I'm not sure about the others. I think it brings it down significantly. Anyway.
Are they, as a committee or as a group, progressing in a logical, forward way without endless conflict?
No, they've still got disagreements. I can't tell you how much it's conflict and how much it's disagreement.
And I'm just going to record for the sake of this committee that, as I see it, we're now into the 15th year of continuing disagreements, which I think for the village personally is
That's a shame.
Disgraceful. Disgraceful. No other way of putting it. And, you know, I mean, we should all know better than to have to let that go on and on and on. It's ludicrous. But
Oh, it's a separate chapter.
I've said my piece.
Well, I
We'd all
agree.
We'd all like peace to break out.
Yes.
If peace could break out, and nobody would be more pleased than me. And
It's great when charities, actually, the charity trustees, any charity, park their self-interest at home before they come to the charity meetings.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's a classic human behaviour issue.
it's trouble perhaps with voluntary bodies, but I do find it embarrassing, and I wish it wasn't happening.
It's a shame.
Oh well.
I mean, if you take a list of the people who are key players, they're all intelligent, sensible people, really, individually. Perhaps when they get together, they change.
Yeah, I might just add actually in this respect that I usually go and say hello to Anne afterwards. I didn't for the last year or two for whatever reason, but this time I did again. Always talk to her about her place on Wittersham Parish, not Beckley. What's the name of it? Beckley's here. What's the one down your way?
East Marsh.
No. On the way to New Romney.
By the Shell garage.
Yeah, by the roundabout. By where Kevin's pub that he turned into a residence.
Brenzit.
She's on Brenzit Parish Council. She's vice chairman again at the minute. They've only got about 3 or 4 and they just go round in circles. But I usually go and talk to her about that and have a very friendly, convivial chat with Miriam and Anne and talked about the Swan in particular because Miriam wanted to know what our position was.
Well done, you.
Which is
Well
very
done.
helpful.
Thank you for that. I mean, that is bridge building at its best.
Well,
so
and
well
bear
done.
in mind, when I was first chairman here, it was daggers drawn.
Of course.
I mean, it was. But
Well, we remembered it. We remember it sadly.
you weren't on it in those days.
I-
Not for the best bits.
I wasn't on it, but I was president of the cricket club.
You were indeed. Oh, absolutely.
And,
no,
yeah,
I
and-
understand that.
You were well informed.
And well informed. You're right.
No, but it was. We did have some lively moments.
We did.
It is a shame, but just think if they'd actually got their act together all those years ago, they could now have a brand new pavilion with NatWest sponsored. I mean, just the facilities. You have to go very far to other villages to see what they've managed to do in generating funds and creating a community space.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But,
Yes, and interestingly, it's not just the pavilion. I mean, the football club badly needs the field to be drained better, for instance. I mean, they can't play it on it in the winter.
Certainly, I was down in Sandwich at a cricket game very recently, and they've got a very fine newish pavilion, sponsored, as Paul says, by big names and local names.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Well, we can but hope.
I mean, we have got in the church the big plaque to the gentleman who played cricket for the country. Middleton.
Oh yes, and right.
Yeah. We've got history.
I didn't realise he was in England.
Yes, and also we had the famous MCC against Wittersham 110 years ago when they produced 2 members.
Well,
we produced a full team but still lost.
There's also a scorecard I've got when 2 county players beat Wittersham.
Did the same thing, yeah.
I think actually it was fixed because one of them was out early on.
Was Littleton the cabinet minister at Wittersham House?
No. Alfred Littleton was a. It's actually worth looking at the plaque by the Lady Chapel on the wall because it gives the whole history there far better than I could. He's a very interesting chap. And in those days, clearly, if you were, in the cabinet and you did this and did that, and you ran the village cricket team, and that's how.
The awkward thing is that the crest is a lady from the West Indies, and that would be
pictorially unacceptable these days.
If it was outside Jesus College, Cambridge, it would be taken down.
Yes.
Well, they're a bit funny.
Yes, and then Alfred Littleton died in London when he threw himself over the banisters at the age of 56.
With no NHS in those days, Alan.
No, we knew it was had to be a deliberate act.
Yes.
Anyway, we're moving on. Sorry.
The land.
Okay, we've done. Thank you again, Jeremy, for what you've done. The land fronting St John the Baptist. Any news on
No, I'm just waiting for John's hoping to go. We've got to go to East, Hove.
A trip to Hove. Exciting.
Yes, to see what more we can find.
Okay. And there's no, I forget, I think you have told me,
That's
but
very
is there a date scheduled?
Sorry?
That's Hoover, actually.
I haven't seen
Not yet.
it.
Okay.
That's why.
Caretaker scheme?
Once again, I'm waiting for ABC on that, they came back with the breakdown, but when I told them that they missed out Poplar Farm Field, they came back to say, well, that wasn't in their remit to do that. I went back to say, well, who do you think's been doing it then? And you tell me who's been doing it for the last 13 years, which they haven't answered. They hadn't included the hedges that we cut in stone, so I pointed that out. I sent the plans, both those. And they said, oh, we could look into it and come back to me, but nothing.
I think we could chase them.
Yes, oh yeah.
Okay. That's, I mean, that's reasonable. Well, that's a mild word for unsatisfactory.
It's totally unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, I mean.
I think that word could be used. The chairman finds it totally unsatisfactory.
Is that something that Johnny is interested in?
Well, it's something that he has
It's on
been.
his radar,
yes.
isn't it? Yeah.
And in fact, when I sent that email saying, who do you think's been cutting it? I copied him in, so he's well aware.
Brilliant. Well done.
Village Hall, we've dealt with that really, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing else to say, is there?
No.
Insurance renewal?
Well, only that Zurich didn't come back. You know, I was going to look at because it was delegated to me, so I was going to get something from them, and they didn't come back, and we were short on time. Generally, very kindly, went back to Clear Council to talk about how come we went, or they'd gone with the ecclesiastical and not Aviva.
Don't go do it, that's company.
And having spoken to them and heard more about it, he actually got the admin charge taken from the renewal. So
That's good.
The Clear was just a renaming. They just renamed themselves, the broker that actually does it
that's
for
been a
us.
couple of.
And they said Aviva. This is what I was told. I mean, I said I need to speak to the person. She said, that is me. You know, I am the one who does this stuff. And she said Aviva either had or wanted to drop out of that market. They weren't interested in it anymore. So they had gone to a number of other possible underwriters, and Ecclesiastical were most interested and had so far been most sort of positive, and they'd gone with them. Now, she did say, I said I'd looked at the policy and I wasn't very keen on it compared to the previous one, and she said that is work in progress. I mean, the trouble is, it's where we are. But she said we've made a lot of comment, a lot of points to them. They're taking them on, and they are gradually working their way through it, because it's got a lot of stuff that, a bit like the problems years ago with Roland, and were just not appropriate for parish council.
Yeah, the finance bit, what I was supposed to do, just wasn't
possible.
So I did actually, when I went back and said thank you and said that the money would be transferred, I did actually say that I wasn't totally happy with that piece as a clerk.
Sure.
Just that it's noted it.
Indeed.
So
We're really between a rock and a hard place. I mean, we don't like King and Company, as in Nell Gallagher's, just to change the name, the parent. Zurich haven't come back. We're on a short list of not many.
Yes, so I paid it.
Thank you. Highways road closure sign?
Yes, I got a reply from KCC, which I think I did forward to everybody, following Jonathan Strong's strange. And it was quite a full explanation, but it's almost as they're passing it back to us. That if we see the road closure signs are still up when the work's been done, it's up to us to tell them. Put them down. I think I've got a few.
Yeah.
But yes, it does seem to be sort of passing the back to us to keep an eye on it, basically.
Maybe we should say that's one of the key duties of the village caretaker, and there's an extra cost involved with that.
I should just sort of
Yes, but John did ask whether he could reply to Jonathan, and I said,
Yep.
well, I think he was going to send him that. I haven't heard back from whether Jonathan made any comment, whether he was happy with it or not. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. The tree survey for insurance purposes?
Yes, that's something that we need to do. They recommend every 2 years, and it was last done in 21, so we're overdue. And then we can get the lime tree looked at. I'm not sure that we actually included the church trees before. I don't know whether it's something we want to include. It's
Well, they're our responsibility, aren't they? So,
you know, it's our
Yes.
our responsibility. Maintenance is our responsibility. I'm not sure whether.
yes.
Yes.
I mean, there was a time when I used to think the maintenance of the trees was perhaps something to do with maintenance and restoration of the church, but I don't think that was probably erroneous. And I did take my chainsaw to the yew tree once, and that got me into a lot of
And
trouble.
the church insures, of course, because you paid for the lich gate.
Yes.
Didn't you? So you probably insured yourself against the trees doing a bit of mischief.
But then you see,
wouldn't the lich gate count as the fabric of the church building itself? And I suspect that I don't think the lich gate would be seen to be parish council. I think it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those rather grey. I mean, the wall I think is parish council, but I'm not sure the lich gate is. But then it's contiguous with
it's
the wall.
maintenance of all this. You know, we repair the church wall, maintaining it. But I don't know how you felt about the church trees.
Are there, I'm not going to say how many are there, but
One or two.
are there any ones that, shame my ignorance of tree species, are there any special trees?
Well, there's the Miss Talent's parotia. That's a special tree, and it's got a little plaque with it, but it's not very big and it gets lost in the long grass.
Okay.
There is that lime tree, which is probably a special tree.
The lime tree is
There are some
probably
conifers round the north end.
Isn't there a Judas tree?
It's got
Yes,
There is a
yes.
Judas tree.
Yeah.
There's a Judas tree, and there's something else in that vicinity. Anyway, I can't remember exactly.
If it's not included, then it's not covered. That's as simple as that. Do we just want to sort of? I mean, if we include more trees, in my experience, premiums tend to go up.
Well, we don't specify.
It won't cost much more because the main job is actually getting here and going home.
Yeah. I was just actually thinking slightly sort of selfishly from the parish council's point of view, given the fact that it's our responsibility, might be in our interest to at least get it on record that, for example, the survey might come back and say, no worries here, they're all fine. You get a clean bill of health. If they come back and say one's about to fall down, don't let small children near it.
Yeah.
I think we'd rather know about that
Yes.
now. So personally, I would
Well, the
probably.
church would like to know about that.
And of course, we need to let them know specifically about our concerns about the brick path with the lime tree.
Oh, that's why we
Yeah.
started me up on this route.
So,
You're right.
so I suggest we
Information would be
include.
to include it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Include.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The internal auditor.
Yes, he will do it again for another year.
29.
But should we find somebody that would love to do it instead, he won't object.
We can't collectively think of anybody, I think. There must be accountants and things like that moving into the village.
You see, the thing is with David, he knows it. It's
He
just
knows all
not-
the history.
Yes,
He knows
he's.
how parish councils are different from any other
Yeah.
audit. It's
Mm.
not just
I
looking
know.
at the adding up.
He's got the understanding we need.
Exactly.
We're very lucky.
Yes.
Can we give him a little bit of a reward in some way? Is there any way of doing that?
Well, you should give him a bottle of wine.
Okay. It's rather. Yes. Yes. quite. Fine.
Well, I've already thanked him very much.
Yes.
But,
Well done.
I mean, perhaps, should we send him a nice letter from the parish council?
oh, I will do that now that you've
Yeah,
said it.
how grateful we are.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you know, it's not a task that many of us would want, let's face it.
It's a very detailed report. We didn't used to get such a detailed
No.
report.
Yeah.
Which is coming next, yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Right.
So, annual return?
No,
Are you happy with the auditor's report? Can we
Yeah.
just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done the pay. We've done his.
Yep.
Appointed him now.
There's his report,
Report.
which was fine.
We didn't actually
David is
have
going off.
any recommendations. He's
Very
had
well.
recommendations
Yeah,
before.
it's
Just
just the
for me to look at
structure.
the
Yeah.
cemetery fees.
Nothing wrong with
That's
that.
what
No.
he recommended people. But he doesn't have any, so if you're...
I'm happy with
Right,
that.
to sign a document.
Very good.
Is there something to sign on there?
No,
No.
For some purpose.
no, this is the next. Right, that was the one that David did. He has his own sheet. Now you've all had copies.
Is that AGAR?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Which page? First page?
Section one.
It's section 1.
Section 1, yeah. I've got that here.
So, I've got any, I should read the bits out. The first bit, I'll say that the yes, you have to go yes or no. The yes means that this authority prepared the accounting statements in accordance with the accounts and audit regulations.
Mm-hmm.
We made proper arrangements and accepted responsibility for safeguarding the public money and resources in its charge. We have only done what is the legal power to do and has complied with the proper practices in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
During the year, gave all persons interested the opportunity to inspect and ask questions about this authority's accounts. That's when it goes on the notice board and the
Mhm.
website. Considered and documented the financial and other risks it faces and dealt with them properly. We are going to, which I have saved for next meeting, the risk assessment, because Jeremy said we ought to review that annually, and was it the safeguarding one as well? I think there was another one that you mentioned that we ought to do, so...
Which are not in this sort of
no, not in the usual.
standing orders list, yeah.
And I waited until John will be back to do that. Arrange for a competent person, independent of financial controls and procedures, to give an objective view on whether internal controls meet the needs of this small authority, which David did. Responded to matters brought to its attention by internal and external audit, which we did. Disclosed everything it should have about its business activity during the year, including events taking place after the year and if relevant.
We didn't have anything coming from the external auditor that you couldn't deal with.
No, that was, they had, because it was the last year that I got caught again, it's twice now,
Petty cash.
with all the extra bits I had to, the bit that we hadn't done, that we have now done, is appointing an auditor. That's what I hadn't, because I had to send minutes to prove that we'd done all these things,
Oh, wow, okay.
and we hadn't, so that's why we've now
Okay.
included that. So that was the main thing that they
Okay.
couldn't find. So if you're happy with
Yes.
Yeah.
the yeses,
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
You know, tick all of them. And NA in number
I was
9.
going to say the last one. We don't. Right. I have to put in the date and that, but signed by the chair. So you have to sign that one, please. And I have to sign. Right, the next one is the financial figures, which you've seen, which tie up
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
the end of year things that you've already seen. And this is where I've already had to sign, because that's one of the bits that I have to outside and when it has to be done before this meeting. It's one of those weird things that has to be done before the meeting, so I've already done that. So if you are approving them,
Yes.
everybody happy?
Yep.
Signed by
Yeah.
the chairman, please.
Sort of a question of information, just pure information, is that we have 0 borrowings, nothing wrong with that. What's the ceiling for a parish council? Is there a sort of formula? I mean, could we...
For borrowing,
For borrowing, yeah.
well, it's just a matter of
If someone will lend it.
government approved it. I don't think we're allowed to borrow except from the loans, the government loans fund. That may not be true. It may be we can get commercial loans, but I don't think we're allowed
Just
to.
wondered if we could raise 600,000.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never really explored that.
It's a relief, actually.
There is a jeopardy.
It's a relief.
Except if you set it up, I mean, the parish councils do borrow money for capital projects, because and very often it's matching funds.
There is
So
a
if they
jeopardy.
raise or borrow, you'll get something like the Plunkett Foundation putting in 50, or Lloyd's putting in 100, 150 on that. We've just
could
managed to get.
borrow, but we're only allowed
Yeah.
to borrow if we've spent our own money
Money
first.
first.
Okay.
So you'd have to justify how much of our
Yeah.
dosh we kept, and the rest you have to put in,
Yeah.
which means that then you...
It's just, no, just wondered, if we had any, in the future, if we had any capital projects that we were thinking of, even as simple as children's playgrounds or something like that, which, just as an example.
Yep. Well, as you know, the concept of using the church as the village hall has come up several times in various different spheres recently.
The reason I ask that is that there is money around. We've just been, in the homeless charity, we've just been awarded 25,000 each year for 3 years by Lloyd's Bank Foundation, and it's unrestricted. We can spend it on whatever, which is really good when you're looking at core funding, because that's quite difficult to get funding for, so the core costs. But it's hard work. You've got to put together really good applications, and it's very competitive. But it's out there. We're not entirely unphilanthropic as a country. Anyhow, yes, all the numbers look good, don't they?
Yeah,
Good stuff.
Okay.
Health and safety.
Health and safety policy, which apparently we've all seen.
Yes, I forwarded.
Yeah, well, Yvonne had one that she found, that she came upon, and I made some suggestions for changes without spending any time on it at all, really, just very quickly, but I thought that they were necessary, partly because we've got the caretaker and the risk assessment there separately. I just happened to have a try, and I haven't done it before today, to look and see what ChatGPT would come up with, because Yvonne had used the Microsoft system, and I have got a piece of paper in my hand, which is the ChatGPT Health and Safety Policy. I mean, and it is, here's a sample health and safety policy tailored for an English parish council, which is what I asked for. It's written in a professional tone and complies with typical UK health and safety obligations under Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act 1974. I always like it when they type the title of that right. And related legislation. You can adapt this to reflect the specific activities and structure of your parish council. Now, it's not very long, it's shorter. I've not had time to read it, but I glanced at it, and one of the things I noticed was responsibilities, and I don't know how it covers it in the other one because I didn't go back and check, but it's not done in such a way. Responsibilities, parish council, responsibilities. Clerk to the council, responsibilities. And the key thing, first of all, is that clerk is the appointed health and safety officer and will implement the health and safety policy. Now, that is obviously true because she's our only executive, but the key thing is that it has actually put it there. And I therefore, I'll send it to you. I think you might have, playing around with it, a better starting point
yes, I think it will be.
than the other one, because I mean, it is simply true, I know it's more jobs for Yvonne, but it is simply true that implementing the policy, maintaining record of accidents, risk assessments and training, reporting any accidents and incidents in accordance with RIDDOR, reporting injuries, diseases and dangerous occurrences regulations, liaise with the contractors to ensure compliance. That has got to be Yvonne, it can't be anything else because it's the only
This
person.
one did say the council's
Is that it?
executive for these matters is
Okay,
clerk,
okay.
so it had stated in this.
Anyway, I'll send this to you and have a look.
I thought what was useful was it was a good reminder of stuff that often gets sort of forgotten about. Not by you, by the way, but just you've got to refresh. You've got to make sure your councillors are up to speed with stuff. It also is very comprehensive, the one that you sent, Joe, which is around covering not just the council employees but volunteers, which we might occasionally have, and visitors. And it's typically visitors who cause the problems because they're not familiar with that, and that includes contractors. Now they should have their own health and safety guidelines and rules and regulations, but and I think it covers an awful lot, and I guess we'll have to have in all my years, and Jeremy, as I suspect as well, and Sue's, I don't remember the last time we had a fire drill. I think I can remember the ones at school, but since then. But technically speaking, that's something. Maybe you just have that as a highlight of the annual parish meeting, ring the fire bell and get everyone out. Particularly if you've got a speaker who's overstepped the mark. But no, I think it's good. It's fine.
So
Well done.
are we
Well
deferring
done.
this? Are we deferring this then? If you want to.
I think what you've sent through, Jeremy, is good.
I will send it to you.
Well, no, Jeremy's found another one. You see, this is.
Oh, sorry,
This is the
I'm
thing.
working on the one that
No,
Yeah,
starts
but
off.
Jerry
the
found
one
it this afternoon,
Jerry's
about
come up
half
with
an hour
something else.
before I came here.
But
Okay.
this one talks about incident reporting.
Well,
any
maybe you
accidents,
look at the
incidents,
one
this
that
is-
we've all got and say, is there anything else? Is there anything that's missing? That's what I would suggest, because I've looked at this one and I read it through and I thought makes a lot of sense there. It's
I'm
comprehensive.
not going to say you can't do that,
Yeah.
but I
But that's just a
thought the other one
suggestion.
seemed to be more on the point.
Well, whereas we haven't seen that one, we can't
I can't
No.
comment.
comment, so we're deferring
But I
it.
think the one I have seen looks fine. We can always edit it subsequently.
It's the one that you're talking about, Paul, the one that Yvonne sent out, or the one that I then suggested.
Well, it's called Wittersham Parish Council
Yes,
Health and
it's
Safety
the one-
Policy
It's your one, yes.
Introduction.
Yes.
It's yours,
Everyone-
that one
Yeah.
you did.
Yes, the one
that was
everyone's
my-
seen.
that was-
Yeah.
Okay, that was my amendment to
Yes,
that time.
yes.
No, that was good.
Okay, well,
Which the things you've just read out seem to be
I couldn't see.
covered in
I
here
couldn't
as
see them, or they'll be covered in
in a different way.
I'm always impressed when they refer to specialised, so high risk activities,
Yeah.
and they give the example of manual handling. It seems to me they might have, pushed the boat out and given a sort of, electronic equipment or farm machines.
There's more accidents from manual handling than
Yes.
anything else.
But more seat.
And if, like I did, you employ hundreds of bin men and street sweepers, I will tell you what the accident that was being sent up to the board in numbers every month.
Right.
Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Tripping over the curbs. You wouldn't believe it. All the time.
I couldn't possibly comment on that, Minister.
So are
I
we
need the holiday.
accepting
Oops.
Yes.
this one, or are we deferring?
If people want to do the one that we've got, then do
I
it.
would suggest we do that because it's another tick.
It can always be
And we've
changed
seen it,
later.
and you're absolutely right. If someone spots a,
Well, it'll be reviewed
Yeah.
next year.
well, yeah. Well, no, I hope we have the fire drill before then. So look forward to it. Presumably you get a hat then with a badge from front.
Thank you.
So agreed.
Sorry, I've lost my place a little bit. I'll get back to you in a moment.
Correspondence.
There's correspondence. Thank you, Paul.
Right, this is the email from Peter Burnett. He first said that the horse signs weren't in the right place because they needed to be before Hope Farm. when I pointed out that they were where they were because it's the bend and you don't see, you need the sign before you come across them on the bend, he thanked me, Pete, for explaining why. Helpful response, he said, this bend is indeed very hazardous and does merit a sign in each direction, in which case I believe there is a case for an additional sign on the Tenterden side of Hope Farm, since the exit from the farm is just beyond both a rising hill and a bend, and would alert drivers to the likelihood of horses in the road from that point. Hope this can be considered.
Is it possible to put the horse sign on the 40-mile-an-hour one that's just that side of Hope Farm?
On
the same
pole.
Oh,
That's a really good idea.
yeah.
Well, I just think we're having poles put up everywhere, and
It's a really
it's
good idea.
just the other side.
Well, at least
Where he's talking
at least
about.
where they've got that size, right? If you come along Wittersham Road
Yeah.
from Palster Court, there's a shocking great big telegraph pole that obscures 99% of the speed sign.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because
Yeah.
it's about that far behind
Yeah.
it, so no one
They
obviously
do it all the time, don't they?
Yeah,
And there's-
I think that's a really, really good
And I
idea.
think there's one missing because when they first did it,
Yes,
he
they
said
didn't they?
he couldn't
One-
put
one
it in
still to
because of the
do.
water leak, so I can chase.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that I go back and say, can we have another one on that sign?
Well,
I just think you see the 40
Yeah.
and then you'll see the horse one as well.
Well, I think Peter's suggestion is a good
Oh,
one
yes.
because Hope Farm is getting very busy,
Yes.
and they're building
yeah.
a farm shop. No, I think they're
Yeah.
upgrading the farm. They're getting a lot of traffic,
Mm.
and since
They do
the
come in
riding
and out
stables
there a
have
lot.
changed hands, you've got more activity coming out of the farm.
Mm.
I think it makes a lot of sense. But I think your suggestion, I don't suppose we could just buy a horse sign and
To
get
say
out
we're
the
going
bolts
to have
on.
to pay for this
They'll do it
anyway,
across.
and it will be highways won't.
Does that mean there's going to be a £1,000 consultation fee?
Probably. Design fee.
You can get a sign made up that size, you know,
With a horse on it?
with about, you know, for about 30 quid.
Well, exactly. I've seen them.
I mean, I've got
I know.
I've got one with ducks outside, and I mean,
Yes.
nobody's ever inquired about whether it's
And I've never seen a dead duck there.
no,
So
and whether it's closed to traffic, I rather doubt.
my wife and daughter were out the other day stopping the traffic opposite us because out of Gronya's garden came 8 ducks and mother ducks, and
Yeah.
it stopped all the traffic with the
Well,
just sort of coming
oh, my
across.
goodness, yeah.
But anyhow, I think that's I
Okay,
think
so
we
I'll
should
go
do
back
that.
to highways and ask for that.
But we could. I think Paul's suggestion is, you know, who would know you stuck one up?
It would be interesting whether the
It's all part of the
highways
government.
would ever
Yes,
notice.
yes.
It's all part of the government devolving responsibility
Yes,
to Parish Council.
all these signs have to be. I mean, that
Well,
And I think you have to go out and dig a hole and put a post in the hole, you know, big deep hole. You see what I mean? And with a metal pole. And I'm not so good at fixing a sign to it.
Well, the problem is that the metal pole fell over. I'm not suggesting you won't get it, and a motorbike hit
I'm
it.
not.
And I just think having an established pole and just
Yeah.
It's got to be
bolting a
done.
sign.
If a
It's got to be
motorbike
done
hit it,
properly.
yeah, that would be a problem, wouldn't it?
Mm.
But then, yeah, it's all
I
right.
wonder how much a horse sign is with a bracket.
Okay.
I'll find out when I've asked.
Kent Men of the Trees.
Right, this is something new. We're on the hunt. I blew you fast forwarded
Yep.
to you anyway. We're on the hunt for the best tree in Kent this year. Best means a tree with a story of interest. Do we have a tree with a story of interest?
Well, I can help you down here because there's a tree down just below us, which is it's an oak tree, and it's got a circumference of 5.5 meters. I mean, I mean, if I were to do that, that's the width of the trunk. Is that of interest to us? It's a bit off the beaten track.
Must be big. I mean, old.
Nomination for our Tree of the Year competition should be made.
Fabulous tree. It's got
By
these
a
branches coming like that, you know.
The nominated tree must be visible from a publicly accessible space.
Well, there's a bridleway going along the river, and it's visible from that.
That's public accessible.
Are there any trees on Coronation Field or indeed in the churchyard that have got some sort of... What about Mrs. What's-her-name's tree then, the one you mentioned?
What Mrs. What's her name?
Persis Stewart Tennant.
Mr. No, that's only a small tree.
Oh, well, it doesn't say it has to be
Yeah, this
a redwood or...
it hasn't grown very quickly. And sadly, she's only been dead 25 years.
What news on the bishop's tree?
Well, it's growing, it's got leaves.
Wow.
Well, not many of us
That blessing
we
came
didn't
in
think
handy.
that would happen.
What's the bishop?
What?
The bishop's tree.
The
What's
bishop, it's the oak that she
No,
planted.
no.
For the
Bishop
Queen's...
Rose.
Queen's
Down
Jubilee
in-
tree.
I know the one you mean, but I didn't know what species it was.
Yes, no.
A nuke.
It's a blessed oak.
Well, I mean, an interesting comparison, this one down Potman's Heath compared with Bishop's Oak, both oak trees.
Right,
What can happen?
we have to send the following: a brief explanation of the reasons for the nomination, one or more photographs, preferably large file size, a description of the location sufficient to allow judges to view the tree unaccompanied.
They'd get lost and they'd fall in the ditch. There is a...
Should we be involving our tree warden?
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Yes.
I mean, you know,
Well,
should this go
it's-
into the magazine?
Yeah.
Asking
we haven't got time. It's 30th of June.
Oh yes.
It's going to be in.
Is
I
Christian
think-
still tree warden? I thought he'd handed it over to somebody.
Well, so
That was the
little tells
story.
me. I have it. Nothing's come to me.
I mean, he's got no business doing that, to be honest. He can't just hand it over without our knowing.
Quite. As
Really?
far as I know, he still is. I put his down on the contact list as still.
I would just send that to him and ask him to, on our behalf,
Yes.
submit the entry, and if they could copy us in a week, he could copy us in a week beforehand.
We've got to do it. Parish council.
Well, okay.
And I could take a photograph of this tree and let you see it.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
there a tree around the cricket field, sports field, of any?
Well, there are, but nothing that's...
Nothing
significant,
of-
okay.
Nothing that's going to get you overexcited. Yeah?
We have had trees donated by Kent Men of the Tree.
This is the thing. And what do we get as the winner?
A tree.
Yes.
A tree!
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, it's very Kafkaesque.
Yes, I mean,
this, isn't it?
everyone a winner.
It's a-
Which we will have to find somewhere to put.
Yes, that's going to be another problem.
Exactly. So do we want to enter the competition? This
Has the
is
school got a tree of antiquity with a story? Is there a conker tree that small boys played under and then went on to be prime ministers? Or
What
No,
about Mary Mallett's?
she's got some great trees.
Yeah.
Has she got a mulberry tree?
She's worth asking, actually. I could ask her on Sunday.
Yes.
And if she got a tree that...
Got
I
some.
mean, that would be a little bit more central to the village and right out of property.
Yeah.
Well, you
presumably.
could then include, Winston Churchill and the Second World War and all the story of
Oh, but it's not.
Alfred Littleton and...
Alfred Littleton.
Yeah.
In fact, this tree could take on
He probably
closeted it.
He probably was in his pram under it.
Yeah.
It's not publicly
What about
accessible if
tree?
it's in her garden.
Sorry, I missed that.
It's not publicly accessible if it's in her garden.
Well, she
We
wouldn't
must have
get
a tree.
permission for that. I mean, she's
But
very
he's got
generous.
to, they've got to see it without.
Yeah, they don't have to
More
knock
than
on the door,
one.
wouldn't they? Mary's very generous with that. If she
Oh,
knew
yes.
it was for the village thing, she
Oh,
wouldn't stop
yes.
us.
No,
I don't think
Agreed.
we're going to win.
That would be fantastic.
Fall down.
I mean, I think a simple question of her, has she got a fine tree that would be eligible to enter this? And that I think that would be a nice fitting thing for her and a fitting thing for the village, don't you? Yeah.
And you might discover who the tree warden is in the process.
Well, I will send it to.
If you could copy me in a copy of that.
We've had it.
Oh, I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Just in case I haven't.
Would you like to send it again?
No,
Just pop it in the
Would
post.
you like to check this?
yes, please.
There you go. That's a done
Watch
deal.
it space.
Right.
I have been away.
But that, your emails still go, don't they?
Never assume receiving.
I did say they go.
But on that, I mean, just, I know it's not really on the agenda, but just for a moment to pause and to say how proud the village, if they had been there in St David's last week and heard their choir singing in St David's Cathedral. I tell you, it was a truly professional cathedral, above cathedral standard performance. They performed just amazingly. Just amazingly, and that's our Wittersham Choir. I mean, they had a bit of stiffening, but it was a magnificent performance. All that way, you know. Anyway, I'm
It's the
just reporting back.
Yeah, was it the Rio? Was it the CEO that was there?
Well, it's the fun was had on the beach.
Is there anything the parish council could do about that? Like a note from the parish council to say congratulations on your. Is that worth it? Is that parish council business? You don't think so?
I think it's worthwhile the choir or Giles putting something in the next Outlook saying
There's
anyone
something
interested in
possible,
joining the choir.
Put a report in
PCC
there.
would do that.
Yeah,
PCC would do that.
They will do, yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And saying anyone who wants to
Except that, I
join.
mean,
Magazine.
except that it shows pride from the village, not just from the church. That's my point.
Yes, but none of us were. Well, Rob, you were there, but
No, okay.
yes, I'm not sure that it's.
I was only a spectator. I felt they were all singing to me personally.
Well, it certainly seemed that when you were dialing in the background.
Sorry about that. Yes, sorry.
Well, no, we got a guided tour of the facility because he kept on popping up in different locations.
The trouble was that I was trying to find it because the internet, as soon as you went outside the cathedral, away from the organ,
Yeah.
it cut out.
Cut out, yes. Well, no, it's all good.
Anyway,
stuff.
sorry about that. That was a bit of a
Great
disaster
stuff.
for me. Okay, moving on quickly. Working party report.
Caretaker, there's nothing at the moment.
Nothing from caretaker. Finance.
Yes, we've got the
Yes.
the monthly run before we go into the right. I've moved over some money to the CCLA, so they're now got 150 in there, and I shall have to move money from the instant access account, but that's got. I'd rather take it from there than the other one because the interest is lower. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything. Different. We only get interest quarterly on the instant access account, so hence there's no change there. Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
could you sign it, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Do I need dated?
Please, 10th of the
10.
Thank you very much. And then we go on to the caretakers one. If you remember, I was asked to look at that again, and I did, and I wasn't quite. If you look, I've sent you a new end of year statement.
Is that the
Today.
March 25 one? Or?
That's the one I've sent today.
Oh no, the end of year
Yes, end of
End of
year.
year.
one. Yeah, and budget.
Yes. I'm not sure that we can, the budget, we haven't agreed caretaker's salary this coming year, so I'm not sure that we can agree the budget at this stage. It needs to be a working party, which is John, Jeremy and I, to go through that. But obviously the end of year is as it is.
I've got two different ones, both of which claim to be the May.
Oh, I know, the May, I'm talking about the end of year
End of
stuff.
year
Yeah,
one.
yeah, well,
Oh, okay. Right, I haven't got to that yet.
Because that I had to redo. I had to go back.
End of year one. The last column, you know, you've got the wrong date, 25, 26.
Oh yes, yes.
So the budget
So the budget
question
ignored
about
really.
the caretaker's salary is
That's the thing that-
anomaly. Could we
yes.
not just agree? What, I mean, there must be a sort of a
Well, we do. The thing is, we do that.
is it a national?
No,
no, it's a national.
no. It's we've always agreed it in closed session.
Independently.
closed session,
Okay.
so we can't do that now, and it's
Right.
the recommendation of the working party
Right.
Okay.
is what we've gone before. And this is where it got changed for 2 years running. The working party put forward a figure, that's what's knocked our budget out, and the
Okay.
council agreed,
Higher one.
yes, which doubled what.
At the risk of stating the obvious, does Alf know all about the timings of all
Yes.
this?
Oh yes, 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 yes. I can see. He's happy with that. So when it came to looking back, if you remember, I used to have a book, and then when we had Scribe, it went into it
Yes.
to the main, which meant I wasn't holding. I've always liked to do a double, like I do with this. Scribe comes up with something, I then come up with your monthly transaction statement, and they both agree, which to me proves that what I've got is right. That wasn't possible to do that. It used to be with the caretaker scheme, but when it went into the main one, it got thrown out. And it looks like when I've gone back, I spent a lot of time today going back over since we've started, coming up with figures at the end of year figures, and it looks like I haven't put in some of the income. So when I've redone it all, we've actually got more in the bank. So when I get to the March one, I got an amended balance. So instead of, I thought, going on the monthly ones that I do, that we got £14,213.93. It's actually £16,973.58 we've got. So we've got slightly more. That's the only difference. It doesn't change the main account at all.
Because
This
it's
is
just a
a sum.
memorandum item.
A little thing that I've got to be more careful. I've got to find a different way of doing it, so I'm proving to myself that what I've got is right.
So what you're saying is that the March one that I printed off today isn't right, because the 14.2 should be 16.
You should have March, that's the one that should be right, that I've sent out, an amended one.
I thought that was that one. I did do, printed everything I could find today. Okay, well obviously not that one.
Right,
But it does say, oh I see amended balance, yeah.
yeah. So that's,
Right.
that needs to be signed, and then obviously I've got the one that Jeremy signed to say it was approved last, so that's the April one I've had to redo.
But to be clear, none of this affects our overall
No.
account. All it is the memorandum account for the
Yes.
caretaker.
Thank you. So at the moment we've got, and then at the moment we've got 11,213.
That's right, is it?
Yes.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you very much. So I'm sorry about that.
And then this May one that had 8,400 is wrong.
Yes, it's
Okay.
wrong. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I sent out first. So, and if you wouldn't mind adding on that one, because that's the end of the year as well. Thank you. But what I will do is just cross out that so we know we're not taking any notes of that now. And then we'll have a get together. Jeremy.
No, yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're moving on to planning.
20, the street has been granted.
Since you last,
Yes, since the
20
agenda
Street.
went out, yes.
What were they doing? I know they were doing the.
The back they
I
were
know.
extending.
Okay, that's no surprise. No decisions received, so we go on to open spaces. Nothing to report. Right of ways.
The officer did ask that I told him if pass hadn't been reinstated, and I told him loads. I'm not sure, it's still saying awaiting allocation when you go on the website. So I'm going to, that's having reported it, I'm going to go to him direct, because he did say he neglected us last year and was going to make a point this year. So we walking through the, as I was leading, walking through the wheat up towards Howley last week, got very wet.
Was that him or you?
Me.
Oh, sorry.
Me got very, I was leading them. It's really weird, you go from the back of Jubilee Field and you go through, you go down the gill and up the other side, then you've got the big field that goes out to Howley. And the first two fields, you can see where the track is. You get to a tree and then there's nothing.
Nothing
It's
happens.
almost as if people have, I think, aren't they all sitting in the tree? But there was nothing. So I went through and I got crop leggings on, but they were really wet. When we got back, I said how wet I got, and the person at the back said, "Oh, I didn't think it was that bad." I said, "No, because it was all
By the
on my
time
legs."
they got to them, you'd already, yes.
Yes, take a little.
I think you should take it in turns. So, you know.
Well, they're not qualified. They haven't done the course, so it's only me leading, I'm afraid. Anyway, so that's the.
Thank you. Highways?
I can't really, I mean, I know it's not in our patch, but having driven to and back from Rye today, Iden just is just...
They're both marked, lots of those. I'm by the piece of plenty of
so
them.
So is there any truth in the rumour that was spreading on social media that if the council marks something, they've absolved themselves of responsibility?
I think it is a case that, yes, isn't it? You can't claim from them.
I thought it was
Yeah.
the opposite, that you couldn't claim if they hadn't had it reported to them.
Oh, there's also, I mean,
always another story.
on separate cars, we've had 2 separate punctures, unrepairable, and they've all been from bloody screws and nails. I don't know where they sort of come from.
Well, I came through tonight and there was a wide vehicle, so I had to go on my side through Iden.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it went donk donk. No, please no.
Yeah.
So I had to check the tyres when I keep all right.
Yeah, it's
That was
very
really
bumpy
bad.
there. Yeah.
That was on the straight coming.
Was it near the cream tea
No.
sign at the village hall?
No, this was down.
Because I don't know if
coming
they've
out.
deliberately done that to put so that people have to read the cream tea sign as part of their marketing plan.
It was
But
bad.
nothing with this.
At cemetery and churchyard? And as you know, I'm worked up because the lady hasn't reported yet.
No.
I mean, we've waited all this time and now she's done the work but she hasn't told us.
Yes, she did say it would be a while.
You know,
Because it was
I
only
haven't
when
got a long time, you know.
I complained, after the last one, she said it would be June instead of May, and I went back and said, but I agreed. You said, and she came back to, oh yes, sorry.
I think she'd take a leaf out of
So she then
Jeremy's book,
got
put
something
her findings
about it
into
in
ChatGPT,
that.
and she'll get a report
But she
within
did say
5
it would
seconds.
be straight away.
Probably.
Well,
But I will chase
I
it.
think I'm getting, they say the chairman's getting very worked up.
On the ChatGPT, it actually showed me it writing it. It sort
Yes.
of went down like this as it thought.
Well, I had
Oh,
a recent piece of work where I had to interview 13 people across 14 questions each, and I got a huge amount of data, and so I typed it all up to make sure they got that bit right, and then I thought, how am I going to pull this all together? So I just went on to ChatGPT and put in all the answers for each of the 13 questions, and you're absolutely right. It's put it in a perfectly sensible. One or two. It always Americanises stuff. I'm sure there's a way around that, but it's just incredible. And it was so accurate. But I went through with a fine tooth comb. But saved hours of time.
Amazing.
But I agree with you. I mean, is she sort of aiming for August or September? Or,
No.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it's just not good enough.
We haven't paid her anything, have we?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, there we are. So, thank you. Nothing else soon. No. Reports from Jeremy on health?
On Calc, yeah, if I can. It was 28th of May for the Ashford meeting, and John was there with me. Sadly, we've lost our inside information on KCC with Paul Bartlett, who was He's a parish councillor and an Ashford councillor, and he was also a Kent County councillor. And amazingly enough, he's a city trader.
And he lost his place.
He lost his place.
Pleasure.
So we don't hear, because he was always able to tell us exactly what was going on. Anyway, he's gone, sadly. But he was elected as vice chairman of Ashford Calc, just to give him something to keep busy. The police, they didn't turn up again. We haven't seen them for a while. ASB, antisocial behaviour, remains a priority. The violence against women and girls initiative is a priority still. They have been doing more. Catapult crime has been getting priority. One youth was charged with 8 offences.
Can I, sorry to interrupt, who sent out the notice on that and the picture? Was it you or was it you? I got a report sent to me. I think it might have come from you, but it had a picture of a police car and a catapult, and then the notice of the conviction. And I was going to suggest.
Was this in the
Community
maybe
Voice.
in the Community Voice?
Community Voice.
Well, it was forwarded to me. I thought it came from you, but I just thought we should put that on next door from the parish council, just as a report.
I don't remember it.
Because
I'm putting on tonight a reminder, because we've got Darren coming on Thursday to my coffee morning.
I think we should have a catapult amnesty.
Well,
They did with knife crime.
because if you saw in the magazine, I did say
Yes,
that
Yeah, we
people,
did. We both put something in on
yeah,
that.
Let's try and see
people
if
have
I
got the
can find
problem,
it.
come and talk to him.
So, anyway,
So it'd be interesting to see him.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't
more.
think that.
That's
So
all
I
right.
just thought it was
They
a
have been
really
doing
good.
more, and they
good
have got
point.
this youth charged with 8 offences, one of which was killing a seagull, which he could be congratulated for probably. They've
Not,
also
Jeremy. I
been
think not.
the what?
I think not.
Also, more e-scooters are being impounded. They've been picking up e-scooters quite a lot and nicking them, taking them off them. The recent non-attendance at CALP meetings was noted, and they'll take that up. Also, less attendance at PC meetings lately. I suspect, and that's all I can say, I suspect that it's a change of the ACC local policing again, who comes over this side, the assistant chief. The previous 2, I think, were pushing it, and there's another one since I stopped going to those meetings, having dropped out the chair in CALP. I used to go to the 6 monthly meetings, so I knew the 2 previous ones, but it has changed again.
Ashford.
What?
Sorry, it came from Sue. That was the picture.
The report that came from Ashford. Oh, that was ages ago.
And then the other one was the.
I don't want to interrupt Jeremy though with that.
That's
Sorry.
all right.
Yeah,
That's
sorry.
okay. That's all right, I don't mind.
I do.
So then the next thing was Kent Acre, which is the replacement of ACRK that Paul used to know well. They're still seeking to appoint a village halls advisor. That's the top priority, but the post hasn't yet been funded. Curiously, there's a bit of a sort of chicken and egg then, because she will be bringing forward a membership scheme. We used to be members in this council, and this village hall is a member as well. She will be bringing forward a membership scheme, but not until she's got the village halls advisor in place, so she can do something, she can offer something. And but of course she hasn't got the funding, and then when she's got a membership scheme she might have the funding. Local government reorganisation, which you know about, with the that we're going to lose KCC and Ashford and get put into something in between size. Tracy Curley, who's the chief executive of Ashford, and her right-hand woman, Charlotte Hammersley, who's their policy head or strategy head or something, young lady. They're going to attend the September meeting of CALC to provide an update before the proposals go to the government on the 28th of November latest. Efforts are going to be made to get them to attend the July meeting, and I guess they will say no because we haven't got the proposals. There was a big argument going on. There was one particular member who does argue quite a lot, said that we ought to all be involved and being consulted, because that's apparently what it says in some government document, and of course we'll not be. I'm not surprised. And then there's a CALC session being run on this subject on the 19th of June, which is next week, and I will be attending that now that they've got an extra few places which Yvonne managed to squeeze me in for, and it's at the Ashford International Hotel. I think that's what it's called. It's the one by Sainsbury's, isn't it? I think it's the one by Sainsbury's. So I don't, honestly, I have no idea what they're going to be saying, except I do know that Cal has been in meetings with not Roger Goff, well, it was Roger Goff. Now I've no idea whether the new lady who's running Kent will have anything to do with anybody.
What are people like Roger Goff going to do instead?
Sorry?
What are people like Roger Goff going to do instead?
Well, he was hoping to become Mayor of Kent almost certainly, but that's not going to happen now.
But
That's why he wanted to be in the pilot. I mean, that's what everyone believes, including me, that he wanted to be in the pilot scheme because he saw it.
Yes, yeah.
Also, you see, it put off the election. If he'd been in the pilot scheme, he didn't have to face the election this year, so he would have been carrying on for another year or two, which may be why they were taking out the pilot scheme.
But that meeting you're going to has got people from
All
everywhere.
the districts, yes.
Not just...
At Kent and all the districts, but I mean, Reform in Kent presumably have hardly thought of what they want about anything in that.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.
That's all.
I've got one or two things I just want to mention quickly.
Is this under items of information?
Yes.
Can we have the date of the next meeting first?
Yes. Yes, and the date of the next meeting is
8th of July.
8th of July.
8th of July.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now you can...
Everybody's aware there is this concert, this folk concert in the village, in the church, on the 21st of June. And if everybody can please kidnap several of their neighbours and drag them in, entry by donation, but I know you're all on the case anyway, and spread it much more. I mean, we need to try and make a little bit of money if we can. That's one thing. And I was approached at
That's 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, yes. I was approached at the weekend by the nice lady whose name escapes me, who lives at the Mill House. Who lives at the Roundel. The Roundel?
Kathy.
Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy, yeah.
Kathy. Yeah.
Pip and Kathy.
Pip and Kathy, I can't remember the
They're good at the
surname.
open, they come to the open.
Howard.
They've opened a garden.
Howard, well done.
She had correspondence with Aston Borough Council about her council tax, and they suddenly increased her council tax by £700 a month.
What?
What?
A month?
She said £700 a month, but I think she probably meant £700 a year. Because she's got some other subsidiary sort of dwelling there. I don't know.
She has.
She has.
Yeah.
And they've adjudged it to be a separate, accountable...
So she's been put into an extra A instead of being part of the H. Or
Now, I said if she dropped me an email with the detail, I would try and help her find out what to do next.
Well, it's not really Ashford. I mean, the arbiter of that, I think, really is the valuation officer, which is in Germany, what they call themselves, HMRC.
If you're appealing...
They can be awkward, though.
Yeah, if you're appealing your category, Ashford is the first point of call, and they are very experienced and well versed in rejecting it. If you live within the, if you live within the village envelope, then you have to put forward examples of other houses that charge less than you. If you live outside of it, for example, where we are, where Alan is, you have to find similar properties within 5 miles that you can put forward evidence. They do flag up. Be careful, because there's a risk that you might end up putting everybody else's up.
Exactly right.
But you're absolutely right. If there's a separate and additional dwelling, we had that next door to us with Gronier, because that was there was a building there that at one stage it had 2 entries on the council tax.
There will be rules on it, and the question will be whether an occasional B&B, counts the holiday counts or not.
But she's had that place for
Yes.
years.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
What are they saying it is then? Are they saying it's a separate?
Does it have separate bins?
I wouldn't have thought so.
If it has separate bins,
I don't
it's
know,
one
but
thing that, because they remapped those particularly recently for the...
They did,
yeah, so if they're having separate bins, it would be a separate...
There is someone I know in the village who asked for part of their house to be an annex for an elderly relation, and they said, I mean, they didn't ask my advice at the time, I only found out later. So they said, yeah, that's fine, and they made that an A, and the A got added on to the F, I think, and now the annex is no longer used, it's simply part of the house, and they've said, okay, we'll go back to a G or whatever it should be. A G is cheaper than an A and an F, and they refused. Said, you asked for it, you've got it. And it's not an annex at all, it's simply part of the house.
At the risk of adding to his things to do, I would suggest that she or someone representing it has a word with Johnny.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I felt the first thing would be to get detail.
Yeah.
And,
The other thing is to try and find similar properties.
yes. It's good. That's a good piece of work. Does anybody have her contact details?
Yeah, I should think so.
If you could you possibly forward an email to me and I'll send to her. And if you can remember her surname, that would help as well.
Howard.
Howard.
Yeah.
It is, of course it is. Her son used to be milliner to the Queen.
Milliner.
Milliner.
Yeah.
That's something like that.
Right, I've got a number and an
Email.
We're still
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say I can do it.
You send it to me, yeah?
Yes, I just didn't want it.
No, quite.
Mm.
Okay,
Are
anyone?
we finished?
Well, have you gone around the table to see if anyone else has got any?
Has anybody else got any interesting
No.
points?
No.
No.
Have you got anything, Jeremy?
I've got something interesting to tell you, but it's nothing to do with parish council.